The Alice Babydoll Dress is a cute summer fun dress that you need for your next party. The dress has also been designed to double as a maternity dress. The style highlight feature is the back bow on the back bodice. Also, the back of the skirt waist is elasticated to allow the style to be fully adjustable to make it the perfect dress for that growing bump. The pattern has two cut options for the front of the skirt, so it can be sewn as either a normal dress or a maternity dress. The bodice and skirt are both fully lined. The skirt is a semi-circular gathered skirt with a 5mm rolled hem. The dress also has optional side pockets and two cut options for the straps if choosing to add them. You can make them fixed or adjustable depending on your sewing ability. To make this dress, you will need the following materials: a paper pattern, the link will be in the description box below, main and lining fabric, 10mm elastic, thread to match your fabric, a set of ring and sliders if you want to make the straps adjustable. You will also need the following tools: scissors, pins, a sewing machine, an overlocker, iron and ironing board, safety pin or bodkin, and a loop turner. Cut all main and lining pieces accurately on the correct grain, ensuring all notches are clipped. Be sure to clip the centre front of the bodice hem and the centre front of the skirt waist. Please note seam allowance is marked on the pattern in a grey dashed line and is also listed in the booklet provided. Straps for this dress are optional. If choosing to add straps, you have a choice between fixed straps or adjustable straps. A link to a tutorial for how to make your straps adjustable will be in the description below. Fold the strap pieces right sides together and stitch close with a 7mm seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance back to 5mm and turn the straps through with the rule load turner. Then press flat. Moving on to the bodice, take the main fabric pieces of the front bodice and pin the front panel seams right sides together. Stitch closed using a 1cm seam allowance, then press the seam allowance towards the centre. Then pin the side seams right sides together and stitch closed with a 1.5cm seam allowance. Leave a 1cm gap at the bottom edge. Then press the seam allowance open. Then repeat steps 3 and 4, but using the lining fabric pieces. Then pin the straps to the main of the bodice. On the front, pin them to the panel seam, and on the back, use the notch on the pattern for placement. Stitch or baste in place to hold. Double check that the straps sit correctly and are not twisted. Place the bodice main and lining right sides together and pin along the top neck edge and along both back ties. Do not pin the lower front edge of the bodice. Ensure that the panel seams and side seams match. Then stitch closed with a 1 cm seam allowance. Take care to ensure that your stitching starts and stops exactly on the side seams. Then clip the corners and curves and turn through. Use a sharp object to get the corners nice and square, then press flat. If sewn correctly, the front hem will be left open. Moving on to the skirt has an option to add side seam pockets. If you wish to skip the pockets, move along to step 15B. Overlock the edges of the pocket bags separately from the wrong side of the fabric. Then, pin the pockets to the side seams of the front and back skirt right sides together using the notches on the pattern as a placement guide. Stitched closed with a 1.5cm seam allowance. Then press the seam allowance towards the pocket and understitch. Overlock the side seams of the front and back skirt separately. Then pin the front and back skirt side seams right sides together. Stitched closed from top to bottom, stopping at the pocket opening to sew around the edge of the pocket bag, and then continue down the rest of the side seam. The seam allowance on the side seam is 1.5 centimeters, and then the seam allowance on the pocket is 1 centimeter. Press the seam allowance of the side seam and pocket bag towards the front of the dress. Moving on to the skirt lining, pin the front and back skirt side seams right sides together, then stitch closed with a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance. Overlock closed, then press the seam allowance towards the back. If choosing not to add side seam pockets, repeat step 15 but on the main fabric pieces. Hem both the main skirt and the skirt lining with a 5mm double turn single needle stitch. Stitch 2 rows of gathering thread across the top edge of the front of the skirt on both the main and lining pieces. Place the skirt main and lining right sides together. Place the bodice in between, ensuring the right side of the bodice is facing the right side of the skirt. Gather the top edges of the front skirt and lining to fit the bodice. Take care to use the notches provided to ensure the gathers are distributed evenly in the right areas. Then pin the top edge of the skirt closed along the front and back waist edges. Then stitch closed with a 1 cm seam allowance. Then gently remove the gathering threads from the front bodice. Take care not to unpick the seam stitching. If sewn correctly, only the front bodice will be inserted into the waist seam. Fold the garment the correct way and press the waist seam flat. The seam allowance should be enclosed in between the skirt main and skirt lining. Then add a top stitch across the back waist of the skirt, 10 mm away from the top edge. The top stitching will start and stop at the side seams. This will make your back waist elastic casing. Using a safety pin or bodkin, Thread the 10mm elastic through the casing and stitch down at the side seams to secure. Stitch in the ditch of the side seam to ensure the stitching is invisible. Take care to ensure that your elastic is not twisted before you stitch it down.